live signal when we're actually live. And we're coming up on a minute late. We're coming up on a minute. Okay, we're coming up on a minute late, but we're close. We had to reschedule. We had it scheduled for 3:30, and then we scheduled it for 3:45 because we knew we weren't going to make 3:30. That was way, way optimistic. We almost made 3:45. And we're going to talk about Crazy Talk. Coming up on a minute. And it looks like we do not have the chipmunk voice, so that's a big plus. So we don't have to reboot. We don't have to restart this puppy. So Sergio's in, second one. Hugo was in a long time ago at 3:11. And so that's how that all works. And Blue is in the house. Blue says hello. And in a minute, we're going to get into the topic. We're going to talk about some crazy talk. Crazy talk, folks, out there. That's what's going on. That's what we're hearing out in the interwebs. Some crazy talk. So here's the deal. I was watching a little bit of Archie's live show. I think it was last night. I was cruising around. I was in the living room, and I was cruising around my app on my TV, my YouTube app, and Archie was there, and so I popped in, and he was just in the process of telling somebody to buy a whole bunch of steel sports Rolexes because it's like money in the bank. To tell his girlfriend is telling him to slow down, this guy, stop buying Rolexes, stop buying watches, period. Sounds like a smart young lady. Says, if you've got like 10 watches, you probably don't need more, right? But anyway, so Archie says, no. It's better than going out and spending the money on other women and so on and so forth, and it's okay. But buy Rolexes, buy steel Rolexes. It's like money in the bank. So here's the deal, folks. Don't, as Dave Ramsey would say, don't get financial advice from broke people. Now, I don't know if Archie's broke or not. He claims he's broke a lot of times, and he claims that he's got debt and so forth. Who knows? Who knows with Archie? But here's the other thing. Archie's in the business, right? He needs props. He needs watches to talk about and so forth. And so him buying a watch and then later selling it maybe for a profit is not the same as the average Joe out there buying a bunch of watches and thinking that it's a good idea. So, yeah, I would not take my advice from YouTube gurus, especially when they're advising you to invest in watches. We buy our watches and we wear them. We like to wear high-end watches. I like to have high-quality gear and equipment. Any kind of gear and equipment that I use on a daily basis, I like to have high quality because I don't want it to fail me, including my watch. And so hence the Grand Seiko titanium diver, the SBGA231, which is epic. But it's not an investment. It's a watch to wear and use and enjoy. Money in the bank is money in the bank, not the same as Rolex in the box. Blue coming out with some sage advice. So here's the deal. So then I'm surfing around. Facebook, and I see this thread. Somebody asked the question, what's the difference between whole life insurance and term insurance? And then there's this big debate, and then these insurance guys are going in there and saying how great whole life is and why you should buy whole life because it's good for your whole life, right? One benefit of it is you have that insurance benefit regardless of how old you are. Well, you pay through the freaking nose for that. But anyway, as Dave Ramsey would say about that, it's a really bad idea to buy whole life insurance. You're much better off investing that money in a real investment. Don't invest in insurance products. And while we're on the subject of insurance products, about 20 years ago, almost 20 years ago now, I had a meeting with my insurance agent down in Florida about the insurance on my house down there. And the rates were doubling because, hurricanes and all this stuff and all these new requirements and blah, blah, blah. So that it was going to go from $1,600 a year to $3,600 a year. This is 20 years ago now. Keep this in mind. And $3,600 a year. And so I told him, I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just hold off on that. I'll just pass on that. And he looked at me like I was crazy, and he says, well, you have to have insurance. The mortgage company is going to requires that you have insurance. I said, well, yeah, that would be a true fact if I had a mortgage. So anyway, I said, I'll take the insurance if you'll pay the premiums. I said, otherwise, I'll just pass on the insurance. So needless to say, I passed on the insurance. That was 20 years ago. And so I ran some math. And by the way, it's gone up since then. It's not 3,600 now. It's more like 5,600. Okay. It's almost doubled again. But even if you just took the amount, the 3,600 times 20 years, even without making money on that, without compound investment returns and so forth, I'm ahead about $250,000 now. Okay, over if I had been buying the insurance from them. Insurance, folks, insurance companies are in business to make freaking money, okay? It's not, people act like, well, if I get insurance, then I'm way ahead of the game. Well, no. Generally speaking, no would be the answer to that. I wouldn't buy car insurance if it wasn't forced on me by the government. I'd be happy to put up like a $500,000 bond or something or whatever and not have to buy any car insurance, because that's a ripoff too. You pay through the nose for that. So you end up paying, you could buy another car, in 10 or 20 years' time. The amount of money that you pay on insurance, you could buy another car. But, oh well. And don't get me started on health insurance. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, you got to have health insurance and all this stuff, right? Well, here's the deal. Every penny that you pay to an insurance company that goes to their profits and their overhead and all that, that doesn't go to any health care whatsoever. Doesn't go to any health care whatsoever. So if they want to fix the problem with health care in these United States, the first thing they should do is get rid of the insurance companies, get rid of all of them, and get rid of the lawyers, by the way. The lawyers don't fix anybody's back or remove anybody's appendix. They're just fat in the system. The insurance companies and the lawyers, those two, they're just hands in the system, hands in the till that we're getting no value out of. So the title was Crazy Talk. You're going to get some crazy talk. We're getting some crazy talk here today. Hey, share some crazy talk in the chat, folks. Let me know. You got any crazy talk for us today? Let's solve the world's problem. Blues in the house. Howdy from Myrtle Beach, rocking the Breitling. There we go. Money in the... Okay, we already read that. Okay. Watches are there to wear. I would hope so. No watches are not investments. I buy mine regardless of value. I like it, and I know I'm going to wear it. I buy it regardless. It's $20 or $2,000. There you go. The watch lounge in the house, buying what he wants to wear. Rich is in the house. R. Wags is in the house. I wonder what R. Wags has to say about insurance. He's a money guy. I wonder what he has to say about insurance. I don't know if you were tuned in when I was talking earlier, R. Wags. I was doing some math. It was about 20 years ago that I canceled my insurance on my house in Florida because they were raising the rates to $3,600 a year. This was 20 years ago. I told the man, I'll pass on that. I just won't take it. And he says, well, you have to, your mortgage company's going to require it. I said, well, if I had a mortgage, that's right. They would. But since I don't, I'm not going to buy it. So for 20 years now, I've not been paying insurance. And guess what? I've had no damage on my home. Now, I do have to say, I do have a umbrella liability policy that covers, like if somebody slips and falls or something at the house. I do have that, and that covers other things and so forth. But as far as homeowners insurance, and that's relatively inexpensive, the liability insurance that I have. But as far as homeowners insurance, no, I don't carry any of that. So if the house gets damaged in a hurricane, guess what? Craig pays to fix it. But guess what? It's been fine. Hurricanes aren't a problem. I'm near Sarasota. That's where the Indians used to go. I don't know if you all know this, but many, many, many years ago, many moons ago, when the Indians knew that a hurricane was coming, they would head to the Sarasota area because that area was always spared by the hurricanes. And so that's where they would head. And of course, that's where my house is. So my house is in a safe zone in Florida. Even when a hurricane is going like straight towards Sarasota, at the last minute, they veer off one way or the other and they dodge it. It's pretty cool. So if you're going to buy a house in Florida, buy it in Sarasota. And plus, it's a gorgeous area. So that's how that all works. Somebody says truth. I wonder what truth we're talking about. Rich, you're not related to Carl Winslow, are you? Okay. HMO, among other things, killed healthcare in the USA. Well, here's the thing, and I published a blog post on the healthcare thing. This is going back like probably 20 years too. That I had several elements to totally solve the problem. 1, get rid of insurance companies. 2, get lawyers out of the equation. In other words, make doctors, nurses, other caregivers immune from lawsuits. Okay, so you get the lawyers out of the equation. 3, doctors, nurses, and other caregivers do not pay any federal income taxes. Give them a pass on federal income taxes. Okay? And 4, of course, because the lawyers are out of the whole equation, they don't have to carry any kind of malpractice insurance or anything like that. So basically, all those things, if you take those steps that I just outlined, the supply of healthcare would increase dramatically because more people would want to be nurses and doctors because they're not paying any federal income taxes, right? They're not going to get sued, right? So more people would want to be doctors, lawyers, not lawyers, heaven forbid, doctors and nurses and other caregivers, right? People say, well, oh, you got to have lawyers because what if they make a mistake? We got to punish them. We got to punish the doctor if they make a mistake. No, that just lines the pockets of the lawyers and the insurance companies, and everybody has their hand out and all that whole deal, and that is not going to work. If you want to keep track of who the good doctors are and who the bad doctors are, you just do it like any other business. You have it where people can rate them. And if you're a bad doctor and you're doing lousy work, you're going to get really bad ratings, and guess what? You're not going to get customers. And so it's going to be a very competitive, if we followed my plan, it would be very competitive. Everybody would want to be a doctor or nurse or whatever, anybody that has the acumen to do it. And it's because they'll be motivated to do it, right? And they'll be motivated to do a really good job because there'll be a lot of competition and because they're going to get bad ratings if they do a lousy job. And of course, you can have them licensed. I don't have any problem with them, a state license or something to be a doctor, and that license could be revoked, if they were doing bad things. So there are other ways to police the situation than to have big multi-million-dollar lawsuits. Now, if a doctor does do a mistake on somebody and screws them up or whatever, you could have a fund set aside where that person gets some compensation for their injury or whatever to take care of them or whatever actually needs to be done. But they don't win the lottery. They don't get $40 million. Their lawyers don't get rich, et cetera, et cetera. You have some sanity in the situation. So if they took those steps that I just outlined, the healthcare in this country would be fantastic. It'd be like McDonald's. It'd be like a place on every corner where you could go and get affordable healthcare. And just like you can get affordable fast food, right? Not that I recommend anybody eat that stuff. But you hear what I'm saying. It would be plentiful and the costs would be low. That's how that would all work. But we're going the opposite direction. What we're doing is all the policies that they're doing, everything is geared towards healthcare being less available and the demand being higher. We're going the opposite way. We're increasing demand for the service, and we're just decreasing the supply. We need to do the opposite. We need to increase the supply and decrease the demand. That's how it works. Like, I don't need any health care. I'm very healthy, so I never go to the doctor. I stay away from them. I'm scared to death of those people, right? So I'll probably never go to them. And so people will be motivated to not go, to take care of themselves, to eat right, exercise, all those kinds of things, because they won't have carte blanche insurance. They'll have to be paying for it when they go, right? So they'll be motivated to make better choices, I think. But this is Crazy Talk. Crazy Talk today here on the channel. Put some crazy talk in the chat. Here's crazy. Fed will lower interest rates, hyperinflation, then housing triples in price. Too much cash in the system coming. There you go. There's a reason why the insurance buildings are generally the biggest and tallest in the big cities. I agree. Get the amount you need and no more. Yeah, I mean, I buy very little insurance. Very, very little. I don't even have insurance on all my camera gear. I did for a while. For a couple of years, I had some insurance on my gear, but it got too expensive too. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to have to pay for the gear with 5 years worth of insurance. I mean, this is insane. So yeah, I'm just careful. I keep an eye on my gear. I don't set it down and walk away, and I just take some precautions. So, personal responsibility, as Adam Meister says. By the way, you guys should follow Adam Meister. As Adam Meister says, personal responsibility is the new counterculture. So that's how that works. Don't fall for no holiday insurance. Don't fall ill abroad without holiday insurance. Well, like I say, it's not a good idea to be ill, period. Take good care of yourself, eat right, all that kind of good stuff. You probably will be fine. You'll be good to go. But people constantly put poison in their bodies, and they don't exercise, and they do everything wrong, and then they whine and bitch when they're sick, when they have diabetes or whatever, they have heart condition and so forth. They've been doing the wrong thing for 30 years, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, take care of me. I don't know. Personal responsibility is a new counterculture. That's what Adam always says. I'm starting to believe that might be the case. I also went without homeowners for 15 years, but getting a little scared. I'm 1 hour north of Sarasota. Yeah, 1 hour north, that's a little bit, that's up near where you might get hit by a hurricane. But I think if you've got a nice solid house, nice solid roof, I've got real thick tile roof on mine that's real heavy. It's kind of hard for that to blow off. I think if you got a solid house, you might be okay. So, yeah. Truth. When you were discussing lawyers and insurance meddling with healthcare, well, here's the deal. They're not giving anybody any healthcare. They've just got their hands in the till, right? That's like if the government gets involved and they're administrating things and all. Can you imagine how inefficient they are? Can you imagine how much that's going to cost? All the bureaucracy and overhead and so on. There's already a ton of regulation. And by the way, you got to get rid of all that. Got to get rid of all the regulations. Let these doctors and nurses and all just operate like any other business. Like I say, they're going to be rated. Word will get around. If you provide bad service, you're not going to get any customers. That's how this works. Get all the slop, all the excess costs and inefficiencies, take them out of the system. Now all of a sudden it's going to be very cost effective. When I was a little kid, people didn't have insurance. They didn't have health insurance. When I went to the doctor, when my mom took me to the doctor because I fell and had to get stitches, which happened many times, we paid for it. She paid for it. We went to the doctor's office. They stitched me up, and she paid the bill, $50 or whatever it was. That's how that worked. Let's see here. Hey man, vacationing in Shasta Keys as we speak. Best place in USA to vacation on the beach. There you go. Absolutely. I've been there many times. I've got a lot of photos and videos and all from Siesta Key Beach. Go there tonight for the sunset. The sunset celebration, the drum circle. Maybe some of the hoop dancers will be there. Go there for the sunset celebration at Siesta Key Beach. You will love it. I don't know if you've been to that or not, Gary. Check it out. They do it every Sunday night at sunset. I'm from the original Winslow Mayflower family of 1620, direct descendant of Edward Winslow, the first governor of the colony. There you go. That's right. That's who hangs out here, folks like that. Watch Doctor in the house. How about the EpiPen that is life-saving that cost $400 because the big pharma companies? Well, again, there's not enough competition, and they give a lot of these companies monopolies, and they all do a lot of heavy lobbying and so forth, and they've got the government in their pocket. There's just a lot of corruption, a lot of issues. First of all, I don't think people should take any pills and drugs and all that. I don't think you need any of that stuff if you take care of yourself. You start getting hooked up with them and start taking a bunch of pills, and they'll get you on the program all right. You'll be taking pills the rest of your life. You'll have one of those things that says Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and you've got like 15 pills in each thing. Yeah, they'll get you on the program all right. You'll be paying for their kids to go to those Ivy League colleges. That's how that all works. I stay the heck away from them. Yep, our litigious society has killed healthcare and many things. You're spot on with your observations, Craig. Well, there we go. We got somebody speaking common sense. Watch Doctor, you are correct. Mylan is a poorly run pharma company. Okay. Watch Doctor and ask Craig, I understand your views, but as a member of the medical community, there are other mitigating circumstances as well. Big drug companies and their lobbyists ruining. Yeah, we have to deal with them too. We got to get all the fat and heavy expense out of the system. But again, I don't think the drugs are needed. I don't think you need all those drugs. I think that we've created a society of people that are drug dependent of all kinds of different kinds of drugs, and I think it's not a good thing. I don't even take aspirin, for gosh sakes. Drugs? What the hell? Why the hell do I need a drug? Eat right, exercise, take care of yourself, folks. Get a lot of rest. That's what I say. Let's see. Indeed, Watch Doctor, spot on. Crosses into the political realm and campaign finance reform. It's big problem for the USA. But let's keep things in perspective. If you take care of yourself and you are wise with your money and invest and do smart things as far as your health and fitness and all that sort of thing, you're going to be fine. None of these people are going to have any effect on you. They don't really have any effect on my life. I let them mess around over in their world, and I'm over here in my world. There's two different worlds. And I just don't get tangled up with them. And that's how that works. My house north of you is made of sticks. It's a real hurricane. If a real hurricane comes, my second floor is history. Interesting that you've got two floors. Mine's all on one floor. A lot of homes in Florida are all on one floor. Interesting. You might want to get you might want to sell that place, Rich, and get one that's stucco, that's, heavier duty construction, blocks with the steel rods in them and all that. All the, anything built in the last 10 or 15 years is going to be pretty robust. You might want to think about, if you're going to go the no insurance route, you might want to think about upgrading to something that's a little heavier duty that can handle the storm. Otherwise, you probably should buy insurance. Let's see. Big Pharma is killing us all. The numbers prove it. There you go. I would say we need to look at our neighbors up to North Canada. Don't say we should go total socialist medicine. There are a lot of unnecessary drugs, but some people are born with diabetes. Yeah, but I think you can cure diabetes with exercise and eating properly and so forth. I think you can turn that around. I really do. I don't buy into that. And as far as Canada, I had a bunch of friends that wintered down in Florida that would have like knee replacement surgeries and things like that done while they were down in Florida, and they would pay for it because the care was so lousy up in Canada, and or they had to wait so long or whatever. They would literally pay out of pocket to have things done down in Sarasota while they were down for the winter, as opposed to doing it up there. So Canada, their healthcare pretty much sucks. So that's how that works. And allergies, etc., requiring meds like insulin. Yeah, see that most of those things are caused by poor habits, by poor eating habits, poor exercise habits. A lot of those things can be traced back to that. So yeah, personal responsibility is the new counterculture. I agree. Opiates and some other meds are being overprescribed and not used right. I think it's a lot of meds, a lot more meds than just that. Yeah, I think I just would take a pass on all of that. Just kind of slide right on by all that stuff. I came on a little late. Was there any Rolex talk? Rolex. Here we go. There's that puppy we were talking about the other day. That beauty with the grape dial. What's this Rolex here? Same thing. What's this here? Oh, there's a Yachtmaster 40. Oh, by the way, I want to show you guys. I put some Yachtmasters in my favorites on Chrono 24. All gold ones. Let's talk about those for a second. Let's see if I can pull up their website here. Let's see if I can log in. That's going to be the biggest challenge here. Log in. Okay, I'm logged in, folks. I am logged in. Now let's look at here's one puppy that's on my notepad. They call it the notepad. So, you know, this is a possibility for an all-arounder. And we're going to talk about the clasp. We're going to talk about the stamped clasp, the older style clasp on these 5-digit ones. We're going to talk about that. But here's the deal. Let me see if I can pull up my my whole list here. Notepad. Okay, here we go. Here we got my notepad. Okay, and now most of these, I believe, are the 5-digit units. 40 mils, all of them. Now that white dial looks pretty legible. I'm not sure. I mean, the markers look real legible. The hands don't look. I guess they're legible against the white. I'd have to see one in person, really. There's the dark blue dial. That's always very interesting, I think. Okay, so 16450. Right? You get a watch that's 11.7 mils thick. That's all 18 karat gold. That could be an all-arounder, folks. That could be a 24/7, 365 all-arounder. And here's the thing, people, well, it's got the old style clasp and so forth. Well, here's the thing about those clasps. They are super comfortable. They're nice and trim on the wrist. They're more trim than a glide lock by far. They're not as long on the wrist. And they're easily adjustable. They've got the micro adjustments, and you can even adjust the tension when you close them by just slightly bending the swing arm a little bit, the one swing arm. But with the clasp, with the clasp that locks over, the flip lock, they're very secure. I mean, I wore those for years. I think it might be a better clasp than the newer style clasp in a lot of ways. I think you're getting a lot of watch for the money there. Let me know what you think. This is crazy talk today. Crazy talk. We're bringing some stuff right out of left field here, folks. Right out of left field, some crazy talk. I came on a little late. Was there any Rolex stock there? I just read that. Okay, I've been here pre-Andrew, so I'm really in trouble. Yes, you're right. I need a new place. In Canada, it's a disaster. You're spot on about it, Craig. Well, here's the thing. this is not, this is from experience. I had a lot of Canadian friends that I played tennis with and stuff, and that I knew fairly well, and some of them were having fairly expensive procedures done down there in Florida because they had better results. They paid for it right out of their pocket. You cannot cure type 1 diabetes with diet and exercise. No, I've known people that have reversed type 1 diabetes and that have gotten off of insulin and have needed nothing and have been fine. They've straight up reversed the effects of it. So I've known people that have done that. And type 2, of course, yeah. But even type 1, I've known people that have done that. Please, Craig, this is not your own, like I say, this is firsthand knowledge. I've known people that have actually done this. My doctor prescribed me Rolex. Now, maybe they did not cure diabetes, but I'm saying they got to the point where they didn't need to shoot insulin. They didn't need to use any drugs. I'll put it that way. They were somehow managing it without having to do drugs. So there's how that worked. And I'm not saying everybody can do it, but I'm saying I've known people that have actually done it. I'm wearing a, okay, something just got deleted there. Stay away from the Yachtmaster with platinum dial. They had problems and mine became miscolored in certain areas. Rolex replaced the dial, but I then sold it. Interesting. Well, that's the first time I've heard about that problem. I still think it's a stunning watch. I think I'd take a chance on it. I'm surprised you had problems with yours. I really am. Platinum is usually pretty robust stuff, so that's kind of bizarre. My brother Jeff died from type 1 diabetes. There is no known cure, including diet and exercise. Well, that's a shame that he passed. So there you go. Got some first-hand information here. So I guess the people I've known that have gotten off of insulin and so forth were just lucky people. Luck works too. My mom was on a 3-year wait for a frozen shoulder. She finally flew to Texas and got surgery within a week that she happily paid for. Well, there you go. Some first-hand stuff. I told you we were going to have crazy talk today. This crazy talk. Canadians coming down and getting cured. People somehow, some way getting off of insulin. Type 1 diabetic getting off of insulin. How did they do it? How did they do it? Let me see if I can do a Google search on this and see if they say how they did it. Type 1 diabetes. Off insulin. Let's see how they did it. The body does not produce insulin. The body breaks down the carbohydrates you eat into blood glucose. Let's see here. There's no cure for diabetes, neither type 1, juvenile onset or insulin requiring diabetes, or type 2, adult onset diabetes, ever goes away. The patient's insulin needs are minimal, and some patients may actually find they can maintain normal or near normal blood glucose taking little or no insulin. Okay, there it is. You want me to read that again? There's no cure for diabetes, neither type 1, juvenile onset or insulin requiring diabetes, or type 2, adult onset diabetes, ever goes away. The patient's insulin needs are minimal, and some patients may actually find they can maintain normal or near normal blood glucose taking little or no insulin. So see, what I was talking about is drugs, folks. I was talking about not having to take drugs. And in other words, shooting up insulin or whatever, right? I didn't come right out and say that they cured it. So, but I think some can get off of drugs if they eat right and exercise and do everything else they can. positive thinking too. The power of positive thinking is robust. Let's see here. You need insulin for type 1 diabetes. Your pancreas can't produce insulin. You can decrease dose of insulin based on that. As a physician, it's the truth. So are you saying that nobody with type 1 diabetes can get completely off of drugs? Is that what you're saying? Because that's not what I just read on this posting here. Of course, we can't trust everything we read on the internet anyway. But like I say, I've had people that I personally have known that were type 1 that were able to wean themselves to where they didn't inject anything. Now, can you take pills? I know they got off the injections, and I don't think you can do it any other way, can you? Would they take pills for it? Anyway, clarify that in the chat. Clarify that in the chat. Let's see. Yeah, I left a restaurant and my dial immediately discolored, and I know how to keep a crown right. It was a major, well-known product issue Rolex kept secret. So something happened to the dial? We're not talking about the platinum bezel itself? Please clarify that. Now, how do you feel about the 2019 GS SBGA231 dial? Okay, let's look that up. SBGA231. Here's a blog to watch, has something about it. Oh, that's a video.
Hey, have you seen these new
you
rings?
guys are going to
They're
hear
made of
that.
silicone.
Let me just stop that. If he didn't have a commercial before. By the way, I give you guys at least 24 hours. I do not monetize these videos for at least 24 hours so that my good subscribers can watch these videos without any commercials. They just got to do it within the first 24 hours. So depending on your time zone or whatever, most people should be able to do it within the first 24 hours and avoid any commercial interruptions. Yes, I would say it qualifies as crazy. The dial to me is okay. I'm not a big fan of that case design. I mean, some people love it and all, but it almost looks like an integrated bracelet type design almost. I mean, it's just kind of funky. I don't, it's just, for me, it'd be a no-fly zone. Yeah. Just bought a Pepsi GMT for retail, been offered $17K sell, was on the list for years, kind of like it, but yes, if you can get $17K clear with no selling expenses, and the guy is willing to wire the money to your bank account, and you can confirm with your bank that it is in there safe and sound and that it cannot be reversed, you've actually got the money. Or if the guy gives you cash, real $100 bills that are not fake, I would take the $17K and run. Take it and run. It's a beautiful watch. It's a great all-arounder. It's a great 24/7, 365 watch. But for $17K, yeah, I would take the $17K. But that's just me. You could take the difference. You could take your profit, and you could buy one of these, and it's just your profit. You're still ahead. You basically have a free watch. That is, by the way, awesome. This 231 is freaking awesome. And just to put it in perspective a little bit, right? Because I'm sure you paid less than 10 for the Pepsi. Aren't they less than 10 list price? Or right around 10? Something like that. So, you're looking at a 7K profit. You can buy these for around 5 in mint condition. You should be able to buy one for 5 in mint condition. Or lightly worn condition, for 5. They are getting a little harder to find, though, in that price range. They were readily available in that price range, but they are getting a little tighter. But I think you can still do it. You can reduce the dose of insulin, but you need daily insulin to maintain a basal insulin rate. Type 1 diabetes. Type 2 you can control with diet and exercise and oral meds. Your friends would be likely 2 diabetics that they think are type 1 because they were bad initially. Okay. Can somebody go from type 1 to type 2? Can somebody be born type 1 and then somehow mysteriously go to type 2? Let's see. The bezel was perfect. Okay. The dial looked like it had water damage. Okay, so that's some other issue. That's not the platinum screwing up. Yeah, well, that sounds like a real issue. Again, but a Yachtmaster with platinum dial out of warranty. Oh, did they make them with a platinum dial? I'm sorry, I misunderstood. So are you saying there was a Yachtmaster that was a platinum bezel and a platinum dial? That's interesting. I didn't know that animal existed. Please clarify. Hello, Craig. Which Grand Seiko are you thinking will be your next timepiece, Gilbert? Boy, they're not really making the watch that I want right now. My needs are different than a lot of people. Number one, I want a watch that is easily legible. And the hands and the dial on this watch make it exceptionally legible. I mean, some people say they don't like the design of these hands, but the fact that the minute hand has that big rectangular pointer on the end, and I mean big, everything's big on this. All the loom on it is all nice, big, beefy loom. It makes it so easy to read. And then you combine with that the comfort on wrist of this titanium and the shape of the case, the way it drapes around and the way it's rounded and smooth and very nicely finished so that no matter where you move your wrist or how this flops around on your wrist, everything that's touching your skin is nice and soft and rounded, including the bracelet. And then add to that the fact that I've got the 4 micro adjustments and I've got the quick extension where I can just take this like this. And I just extended that, see? And it's a one-way ratchet. I can click it in one at a time. I just did 2, but now I've got it out like 1 click right now. I mean, that is extremely, extremely nice and convenient to have. So for my use case, this is pretty amazing as far as a sport watch. Now, as far as a dress watch, I do like the 005. It's a little crooked there. I should straighten it up. But anyway, I do like the 005. It's 20 mils thick. It's a 39 mil watch. It's got a nice trim bracelet. But those hands are not as thick. I would much rather those be the squared off hands of like an Oyster Perpetual. That you would have a little bit more to read. Let me see if I have another picture of the. Well, I don't have another picture of the Oyster Perpetual, but these pointed hands that get so narrow at the end. For most people, they look great, but when you have older eyes like me, and I'm in denial, I don't always wear my reading glasses, and so, a lot of the time, that watch is not as easy for me to read as this one. And so I would need the hands to be a little thicker, a little more squared off on a dress type watch, right? So they're not making the perfect dress watch for me right now. They don't make it. They all have those pointed hands, right? And some of them don't even have the loom. At least this one has the loom, right? So that's a plus. But some of them don't even have the loom. So they need to come out with a different watch for yours truly. And I think other people would like it too. I think something with more of a dial, sort of like the Rolex Explorer, with the hands like a Rolex Explorer has, that type of thing, where it's a dressy watch, but it's got a more legible dial. They should make that watch, but I'm sure they will not, because they don't listen to this channel. They don't care what I say. And so that's how that all works too. Let's see. Again, don't, but a Yachtmaster with platinum dial out of warranty. Okay, I already read that. I'm sorry about that, folks. I'm trying to keep straight here, but this thing keeps jumping. Hello, Craig. Okay. I special ordered the new GS manual wine SBGA231. Just got the news that I probably won't get hit, or won't get it, you mean? Heavily oversubscribed. I can't believe it. Did you talk to Steve at Little Treasury? See if there's anything he can do for you? I'd talk to him at least. Yes, the dial was platinum. Interesting. The platinum metal or just platinum color? That's interesting. I wonder if it's just platinum color. Because actual platinum should just be very stable, just like gold. I mean, it should just sit there for 1,000 years. I mean, it shouldn't have any problems. Interesting. It was a powder coat. Okay. Yes, I have your watch, and it is spectacular. No complaints. I just wish it was a little smaller, Rich. What size, Rich, what size wrist do you have? I believe there is a similar watch to this that has the 9F movement, the quartz movement, that's thinner than this, that is smaller than this. Maybe you can check and see the dimensions on that. I don't know if it comes in titanium, though. That would be the issue there. So, I agree, GS hands are too thin. I'll take Mercedes hands any day. Yes. Yeah, we should start letting the Grand Seiko people know that they're so all in on these, what do you call them, the sword hands, the pointy hands? What do you call those? But anyway, they're so all in on those hands, they just literally put it on every freaking watch they make. You know, let's 6 3/4 Rich. Yeah, you're right at that size where if your wrist was any smaller, I definitely wouldn't recommend this watch. You're right at the limit, I think, for this watch. I'll tell you, if your eyes are better than mine, that 005 might be a better solution for you than the 231. It's a 39 mil and it's only 12 mils thick. Depending on your eyesight and what you think about that style of hands, it's a gorgeous watch. And when I've got my reading glasses on, it looks beautiful. I mean, but when I take my reading glasses off and I just glance at it quickly, I can it's not as easy for me to read the time. Whereas with this diver's watch, bam, I look at it, it's just instant. I mean, it's just like a piece of cake. It's so easy to read. So, hey Craig, I have several vintage timepieces that may seem to have squared off hands, probably because they're smaller diameter timepieces and the squared hands are easier reading than Dolphine hands. Okay, so they call them Dolphine hands. Yeah, for me, I would just put the damn Dolphine hands on some of the watches. I wouldn't put it on all of them. They've just gone way overboard. I mean, even this watch here, that hand is a little bit squared off, that minute hand. Little bit squared off, right? Not quite totally to a point. And the hour hand is definitely squared off with a bigger hunk of loom, right? I think that's the direction they should be going. Not all of them the same. All of them with the Dolphine hands. I mean, yeah, I would go, but I just don't need GMT, Rich saying. Yeah, but I'll tell you, that you don't, it doesn't distract you having that extra hand. I mean, it can just go along for the ride, right? I mean, I don't really need it either. If I start traveling more, I might, but it doesn't really bother me having it there. And I wore GMT Masters for years. Didn't necessarily really need that, but it didn't bother me that it had that extra hand. You tune it out. You get to the point where you're just looking at the time. You don't even notice it. And I did buy a GS from Steve with day and date and rice bead bracelet. It's 39 mil with screw down crown. Oh yeah, that's a beauty. But I'm in Florida, boy, and need a sports watch, not a dress watch. Yeah, but that one that you have with a screw down crown, I mean, that can take a lot of a beating. I mean, that, I don't know what sports, what use cases it would not be suitable for. Yeah, I think that's an awesome watch if it's the one I'm thinking about. It was the limited edition one, I believe, Rich, right, that you got. That's an awesome freaking watch. So, but again, it has the same hands, the same situation, and probably no loom on them. So I can hear you. That one is kind of a cross between a dress and a sport, right? It has loom, and it has the darker dial, so you have a little more contrast, and of course it has that 24-hour bezel on it. So it's a little bit sportier. So that would be something to think about. It just looks too dressy. I need a bezel. Okay. I'll tell you though, that's a gorgeous freaking watch. I mean, I looked at that too, and it's nice and thin. How does it work out on wrist for you? Do you really miss not having the micro adjustments? Does the bracelet tighten up on you on certain days, and you kind of wish you had the micro adjustments? And we're going to wrap this up fairly soon because I have not eaten lunch and I'm getting hungry. I did eat some peanuts while I went on my hike earlier, and I load up my pocket with peanuts in the shell, and I shell them as I walk and snack on them. Virginia peanuts. Don't buy peanuts out of Mexico. I think it has some real problems with the ground, with like bad things in the ground and bad potential issues. But mine come out of Virginia, and so far I haven't had any problem. I eat them pretty often. But I haven't had any real lunch today. Let's see here. Oh, boy, excuse me. Explorer 2 Polar, 42 mil. My one and only. Wear it 24/7, 365, plus 11 seconds last month. I checked. Perfectly sized. Easiest Rolex to read. There you go. Yeah, that's a fantastic all-arounder. I think it's around 12 mils thick, something like that. Let us know in the chat how thick that puppy is. But yeah, I think that's a good move for an all-arounder. Oh yeah, it's a perfect fit, but I have to keep it loose as no micro adjustment. But see, the thing is, it's nice and trim and lightweight, and so it probably is not that much of a bother to have it a little bit loose. That probably works out for you. Hi, Craig. All happy Sunday. David popping in. We're getting ready to wrap the show. David's coming in just to close up and turn the lights out and so forth. So he's popping in the house. That's the one error on the watch, but it wears nice due to the size and thickness. Yeah, and also that bracelet is very flexible, very comfortable. So that's probably a big plus. Yeah, I think you're a little more sensitive to the fact that it's a little too dressy than most people would be. I think most people, you could be wearing that with jeans and a t-shirt or whatever, a swimsuit or whatever. You could be wearing that watch and they would just think you're wearing a nice, elegant, attractive watch. I don't think anybody is going to be judgmental in a negative way about that. I think it's a gorgeous all-arounder. And I think that if you're not happy with the 231, if you think it's too big for you and so on and so forth, I would sell it. And I would just wear the stunner, the 9F stunner. I would have no, because it's got a screw down crown. It's going to be able to handle anything you can throw at it. And the 9F is an extremely robust movement. So I think that would be a good day 24/7 365 piece. I could wear this one 24/7 365. I would loosen it a little bit. I'd have Steve put a half link in so that I could wear it year round. Because right now it's sized to be worn in the wintertime, because that's when I wear long sleeves and I need the thinner watch. So it's sized. I could put it on right now. It'd just be a little bit snug. I'll go ahead and do that. I'll put it on. Show you that one while I get it. Go over and get it. So here it is in hand. And I'll tell you what, these just, when you hold these, they just feel so solid. And they're so elegant looking. See the shape of that case? And I mean, they're just, and it's just such a gorgeous watch to look at. I mean, I've been critical of those hands, right? Because I don't want to wear my reading glasses, but they are gorgeous. And the dial is gorgeous. I mean, you just have to take this thing in sometimes and just look at it. So let me put it on wrist. And yes, I'm setting it down. I'm setting the watch down on top of the bracelet, but I'm doing it nice and gently. Jeez, people. All right, so here we go. We're going to put this on. And you can see it's okay. I'm here in the air conditioning. I could wear it right now with no problem. Very trim on wrist. See how trim it is on the bottom? See how small the clasp is? See, I like that. See, there are advantages to not having the micro adjustments and all too, right? It makes the bracelet more trim. So everything's a trade-off with watches, folks. Everything's a trade-off. But you can see how elegant that is on wrist. That could easily be a 24/7 365er. If I take my glasses off, see, I can still read it. It's about 17 minutes to 5. It's just a little bit fuzzy, and it's just not as clear as if I was reading the diver's watch. But I could definitely read it. It's just I'm spoiled by the 231, right? Now you guys, most of you guys are younger and have better eyes than me, so most of you guys it'd be a total non-issue. But again, everybody's mileage varies. But yeah, this is more sized for me to wear it in the wintertime. So there you go. The 005 on wrist. A fantastic piece. So, let's see. Craig, this is from Mike. Craig, I have the same wrist size as you. What's the max lug-to-lug you would go with? A lot of it depends on the lug design also. I highly recommend that you try the watch on. I don't know what the lug-to-lug is on this, but you can check the specs on the 231 and see what it is. But this would be about the max for me. And it works because of the shape of the lugs and the shape of the way the bracelet hangs around. So all of those things play into it. And the shape of the sides also. See, when you get a bigger watch, everything has to be done right. Otherwise, it's going to be irritating as all get out. Like if I was wearing a Cameron right now, a Deep Sea or something, or even a regular maxi case sub, I mean not maxi case, super case sub is going to be a lot less comfortable than this watch because of the design, the way they're so squared off, and especially this side, the way it's so squared off and everything. It would be less comfortable than this, even though it's a considerably smaller watch. So you got to take into consideration every aspect of the case, the bracelet, the weight. This is that titanium, special alloy of titanium that Grand Seiko uses. It's extremely rugged and lightweight and more comfortable on wrist because of the thermal properties. So, and the hyperallergenic, there's no nickel in here for you to react to and so forth. So there's all these different issues that it's not a cut and dry where you can just look at the stats. That's, I guess, what I'm saying. You really have to check this out. And I mean, I've gone through a lot of watches in my 40 years of wearing relatively high-end watches, mainly Rolexes until the last year, a little over a year when I've gone to GS. It was mainly Rolexes before. And a lot of the times it was GMTs, and of course my day date, my 18238 day date that I wore for the last 19 years, and then other day dates before that. A day date is just super comfortable on wrist, just very, very comfortable on wrist. They really got it right with that watch, and that's why for many, many years it was pretty much the same, minor changes. So you really have to check out the watch and see what the particular watch is like. Hey Craig, do you believe that the Trinity timepieces like Patek, Vacheron, and Audemars are less popular because of cost of Swiss timepieces versus the cost of alternatives like Grand Seiko, Gilbert? I don't know that they're less popular. I think, well, Patek is still selling well and all. I mean, they've always been a niche watches for relatively wealthy people that want dress and a very elegant dress watch to take to that black tie event. They really are designed for the wealthy to buy. They're not for average Joe to buy, and if average Joe's buying them, I think he's making a financial mistake. Just going to say that. Now, if you can buy a watch for list price and there's a lot of fervor going on and you can sell it like the gentleman that has the GMT Pepsi and you can sell it for a big profit, hey, that's speculating. That's buying and selling. And I did that back in the day. I've done it before, and if you can get out of the watch and make a nice profit, but you're taking a risk. You might buy that thing and the bottom might fall out of the market. You might be stuck with a watch you can't really afford. So, but yeah, if you can buy and sell one, that's a different story. But I think I think wealthy people should buy watches like that. Let's see. I use an Everest rubber strap on my ceramic sub. It's perfect, and with the black rubber, the lugs don't look oversized. Rich. Yeah, I'd get rid of the super case subs. I'm not a fan of the super case, period. I heard rumors they might fix it next year. They might pull back from that error in design. That was a total fail on Rolex's part. All right, on that note, we're going to wrap this puppy up. I thank you all for tuning in. As usual, hey, make sure you click the subscribe and click the little bell, so you'll get notifications. Thanks, everybody.